Ow! Ow! Bob Saget!
Yeah, how you doing over there, buddy?
These stupid E-match wires keep stabbing me under my daggone fingernails.
You know, I really do feel for you. Medusa duty does suck.
Shut up. Why is it I get stuck fiddling with bare wires and standard E-match on every site, while you have the ease, modern conveniences, and efficiencies that come with Muxboard slats and quick plugs?
Don't forget how nice they are to look at.
Yeah, I mean, they've got custom logo work and PCB color of your choice.
You know what you need to do?
What?
You go tell your favorite Pyro Prince Caesar that if he cares about the delicate digits of his favorite shell position setup lackeys, that he should head over to muxboard.com and invest in custom slats and firing system accessories that will no doubt speed up his crew's workflow and ultimately keep his friends friendly.
Crap!
What?
I just broke another freaking speaker terminal.
You don't have to worry about that with quick plugs and Muxboard slats.
I know! That's it.
What are you doing?
Texting AJ. Those on Medusa duty deserve easy setups too. I demand quick plugs, Muxboard slats, and firing system accessories from muxboard.com, or else I will stop reading labels and just wing it. At least until my fingers fall off. Okay, love you, bye.
And start.
What are we talking about?
Exactly.
This is where I get nervous and stop
you
talking.
don't need to get nervous. Nothing. You know,
there's nothing to talk about. This is a safe zone.
Yeah.
Safe
Consider
zone.
this your safe space.
This is a safe space. Tell me all your secrets. Go.
All right. We're going to start way back with... No, I'm just kidding.
This one time at band camp.
I was touched in a no special place.
This one time
And changed
with a
me
very
forever.
special mic.
He does have a special mic. You know how we joked before about the Bob Barker mic? He's got it.
Shut up. Seriously?
Yeah. He's got a Bob Barker mic.
That's why it sounds so good. I've got the Bob Barker mic.
Holy cow, you are loud, man.
Come on down.
You got to bring that to Skywars. We might need to borrow that.
AJ Platus, come on down.
How many
Plinko.
clicks do you think it'll take?
Exactly.
Closest one wins.
Hey, that's a good idea. We can get something with a ratchet strap and we'll play a game with how many clicks do you think till we bend this piece of metal?
Yeah, we do that. Like the big hammer game at the carnivals.
Exactly.
We
buttons do I
just
need
set
to
up
push to
we
make
set
all
up
your
your tower.
fireworks go
We
up?
can get Brian to donate
A tower.
a tower. And then when he says, wait, what do you want to do with this? You just say, just trust us. We're going to break it, but it's going to be fine. You're going to get
It's for a
lots of
good
exposure. Right. It's for a good cause.
Am I too loud, or is it good, or should I back up a hair?
I mean, I think I think it's okay. When you get loud, it doesn't tend to have any limiting on it. So it'll clip
Get
a little
proud.
bit, but I mean, it's okay. It's nothing compared to when Jamie gets loud.
Exactly.
Well, I'll try not to get too ridiculous.
What you need to do is talk while AJ's talking, and we'll see if we can hear you. If we can hear you, you're good.
Oh, okay. Now all of a sudden AJ's silent.
Hey, there is that rare miracle where that happens. It's pretty epic.
First time I've ever heard AJ not say something.
I was letting you get your levels right.
Oh, okay. I don't have no way to play with the levels. I got my level is move closer or move further away.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, the closer the better.
Welcome
The closer
to the
the
Rhythm
better.
Pyro Podcast, where Posey, AJ, and Jamie ignite your passion for pyromusical show design or testing the very limits of your capacity for stupid.
Welcome to the Rhythm Pyro Podcast. I'm Bo. That's AJ.
Hola.
That's Jaime.
Eat more chicken.
We eat more chickens. That's Jones, is what I should have said.
It's Jones.
And then
And
then I want a chicken sandwich. We're hobbyists and semi-professional pyro show designers. We're big fans of the modern pyro music, and our little podcast is a place where we can get together, talk shop, fireworks, arts, share some tips, tricks, news, and insights with you. This week's guest needs little to no introduction, especially if you've ever posted a picture of poorly designed mortar racks on Facebook. Shaun Hauter, owner of Hauter Fireworks out of Springfield, Missouri, and Pyro show designer and competitor in Skywars 2024's Pro-Am. What's up, dude?
How's it going, man? Great to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Cool. I'm excited to do it. I love the podcast. You guys always have a great time, and it's going to be fun to chat with you all tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a mess. It's all right.
That's what we're going to call it.
A mess.
So,
A good time.
A good time. For a good time, call Hauter Fireworks.
For good kind, call RPP voicemail.
Dude, congratulations first off.
Thanks. I appreciate it. That was definitely been a goal for a long time. And so super stoked to have the chance to be there now.
I had this question kind of a little further along, and I kind of asked it of John last week. But when we booked you, us kind of taking all of our pride as designers and like putting it aside, you have put in for a spot in the Pro-Am for a number of years,
Yes.
And you've not been selected for it until now. And like personally, I think you're a stellar designer.
Thank you.
You've put up tons of great shows. You have practical real world experience. So you've put up tons of great shows with an emphasis on the word tons. You do it repeatedly. So I thought, what better person to ask this question of? Being someone who's put in, you're an industry guy. So you're kind of in tune, I guess, with this stuff a lot more. And you probably deal with that kind of rejection in a sense easier, I guess, than some of the hobbyists do. But, if you had any practical advice for the guys that throw their name in the hat every single year, trying to get that fabled position in like a Pro-Am or something like that, what would you tell those guys when it comes to continuing to do that and just persevering?
Yeah. Well, thanks. First, thanks for those kind words. I appreciate it. You're a fabulous designer and your shows are always fantastic to watch as well.
Thank you, dude.
So I appreciate that coming from you. But to answer your question, it would be, I can say from my experience and my path was go out there and do what you can, where you can, and get as much good video. We're all going to have a bad show now and then. Not every single one's going to be phenomenal. So you may have to do repeated shows to get one that's stellar enough to catch their attention. So
that's hard too for a lot of guys that may not have that space, right? Like they might not have the space, or like they'll turn in something that's just like it's on a smaller field, or the board or whoever reviews that may not think that they just have enough to make the decision. You've been hand over fist in a lot of competitions, whether it be like, PGI. You just won one in, was it last year, wasn't it? In the
Blind Pyro.
Texas?
Oh yeah. Well, I've won stuff every year in the last 3 years to count. I guess I could tell you exactly what I've won.
I'd love to hear it. Well, hold on, let me get my stool so I can put my feet up. We're going to be here a minute.
So I won the Lone Star Fireworks Festival, which is a similar Pro-Am. Not quite the budget. I think we got like $2,500, $3,500 to work with, something like that.
Yeah.
But you can do a lot with that. I mean, and then they didn't have a limit. If I wanted to add, a few $100s or a few cases or whatever, they're not all, to the T like Skywars is. So, but I don't think I went much over. If I did, I mean, it wasn't much. But it's a really fun one. It was a good one. And we went down there, and I think the numbers were about 75% in my favor and 20% and 5% for the other fellas, respectively. Yeah. That's crowd voted. So that's what the crowd felt over the shows. So I'm not trying to put anybody down that was down there at all. I just hold on. That our show was by far probably the most loved by the crowd for sure.
You think that's tough for crowds?
Is what tough to choose which shows is the favorite?
To judge it. One, I don't like. What do they have? They have like an electronic submission platform for that, or is it solely based on someone's interpretation of crowd response?
Right. Well, they had an app where you voted, so they got done with the shows. Yeah, I think Skywars should add this. If you're listening, Rob, there's an app out there that you and it could just be a site. It doesn't have to be who actually wins the competition. It can be a crowd favorite trophy that they also get, even if it was the winner or if it wasn't the winner, because a lot of times it's not. We had that in Oklahoma. We did a competition there, the Oklahoma Pyrotechnics Club, and there was one team won the vote and the other team won the judging. So both got a trophy to share.
Yeah. Well, I think that still is
fascinating.
It can be a big factor, right? You know, whether it's a deciding factor on who wins or not, but I think and AJ, I guess correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a minute since I looked at the judging sheet for Sky Wars, but don't they have a section on there where you're almost asked to judge crowd response or just the wow factor?
I didn't see that one in there. Not for like crowd or wow response. It's just.
Well, I can tell you what we see. I don't know if it's different from what the judges see, but the rules kind of give you a general outline of what they're looking for to judge you on.
They should have given you a judging sheet to see what you're judged on.
It says here in the rules, it gives you judging, scoring, and judge selection. It says judging categories, pyromusical concept, synchronization, soundtrack, and technical design and execution. And scoring is a 1 to 10 on each of those categories. So,
it used to be 1 to 5.
Yeah, it was 1 to 5 before. Huh? Cool. More room for how many 0.5s do you think show up on that sheet when they get turned in?
Right, a 0.7, 0.8,
Yeah.
0.613.
He won by 5,000ths of a point.
I wonder if whoever gets that just rolls their eyes when they see the guy. Because I think I did that once or twice where I'm like, all right, we'll call that a 0.5, 2.5, 3.5.
Yeah. So, but, to answer your question that you initially asked, I would say PGI is where I went for the most part because you're able to do competitions. 3 different classes. You can choose which one is best for you, and you can spend as little or as much as you want, but it's all on you. There's no paying. There's no help there. So that's kind of a bummer for a lot of people. I know it's easier to go out and, find an event like Lone Star that'll give you $3,500 and let you come out and compete or whatever. Yeah. So that may be a good route for folks to look into, to find the events that are doing little pro-ams that you can apply for throughout the country. There's several. Not Sky Wars isn't the only one. It's just the biggest one and the best one.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that that's provided you a solid kind of platform to find your foundation as a designer and ultimately what makes up what you enjoyed in pyromusicals?
I think that it's just given me the opportunity to do what I want. Because, when you're scripting shows that you do on the weekends or the racetrack or the 4th of July stuff, you're stuck to what the theme is going to be. And it's hard to go outside that box on normal work shows that we do throughout the year. So that's where I guess I was able to try to be more creative and do what I want and do the songs that I want and things like that. So I'd say that definitely made a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's also coming from the dude that's sent me a number of snippets from some of your racetrack shows, and they ain't your typical racetrack shows either.
They're pretty cool.
They look pretty damn cool for, being what you would consider a dumbed down show. It's a really nice show for a racetrack of that size.
Yeah, their 4th of July show is a little different. Like throughout the season, we do little tiny pyromusicals that are like a minute long. While the cars are pacing about to go green, they do a little parade lap. And that's cool. They get the announcer gets the fans excited, and then the fireworks go off, and it's a big to-do. But it's only a minute long. But with their 4th of July show, it's a full-on sizable budget pyromusical. So that's really where I've been able to do a lot of work and testing. Like the Phoenix, I shot the Phoenix at the Speedway, took the notes, adjusted it, and then shot it at PGI, and it was phenomenal. People just talk about that one all the time. So it's kind of my testing grounds because I have the nice 500-foot wide shoot site. I can do whatever I want to do on that show. So it's nice to have that.
Well, and it's nice to have venues like that where you feel you can take something and refine it. Taking something, throwing it up, and then taking it back and doing revisions until you have something special. That's got to help. A lot of designers will, myself included, will shoot something, we'll shoot it once, and then you almost have to just like derive a lesson from it, and then just try to employ that lesson or deploy that lesson someplace else. Rather than get another crack at it. So it has to be really cool being on the industry side of it and feeling like you can take multiple stabs at this stuff to perfect it.
Yeah, it's definitely an advantage that a lot of hobbyists or even some people that do this for side work, I have a lot more opportunity than a lot of them. So I'm blessed there.
Yeah.
I've worked my way to it. It's not like it just happened. I've done a lot of shows to get to that point. So
yeah. So
how many shows do you think you've done there total?
Overall or at the Speedway?
At Speedway, sorry.
Speedway, I'm over about 130 or 40. We do over 13 a year, and we're in our 12th season. But the first couple seasons, it was 7 or 8 or 9, and every year they're up at the first few years. They kept increasing, and then it went to about 12 or 13, and it's been that way for 9 or 10 years. So it's hard to get an exact rate on how many I've done there, but it's well over 100, close to 150, just at that one place. Yeah, so quite a few shows there.
So when they ratcheted it up, did they ratchet it up just because of the way that you were shooting it?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens with so many different accounts, man. You'll shoot a killer show and it's just phenomenal. And the client's like, yeah, we're spending $5,000 more on it next year. You'd think it'd be the opposite. They're like, oh, we got our money's worth. We don't need to spend another $1. Yeah. They did a phenomenal show for what we gave them, but it's just the opposite. They want to throw more money at it when you provide such a good show. They're ready to spend more next year.
That's right. And you got to strike while the iron's hot too. As soon as the show's over, they're high on all of those endorphins on how awesome their show was.
More money. Hey, give us more money.
Right. We need more money for this next year.
Right. And you got accounts that don't ever raise it a bit. You got shows that they'll never raise it a penny. They're stuck at $5,000 and that's what they're going to spend every year. And that's just that. And but you got other accounts that were the person that's in charge of the fireworks. They love fireworks just as much as all of us. And they do everything they can to add to it every year. So it's just how it is. You got those different kinds of accounts all over the place. No one's the same. There's no two companies are the same. So
yeah. Well, and then getting a read on your clients too, to try to figure out exactly what they want and what that expectation is. That sometimes isn't the easiest thing to do.
No, not at all. And to speak to that, when we first got that Speedway show, we were exactly in that predicament. We're they knew what they wanted. They tried to convey that to us, and we come out there and we're blasting all these fireworks off, and they're like, wow, that's way too much. That's not what, we just wanted a little quick splash while they're going around the track. And we're like, oh, okay, I get it. So, we adjusted and learned. It took us a couple seasons, but we got it smoothed over, and we really meshed together well now. I know what they want. I know, when they want better and bigger. I mean, that's, we decided what nights are pyromusicals, what nights we're bringing out fireballs. Every time I go there, are you bringing fireballs tonight? No, we don't do them every single time. If we did them every single time here, y'all to get tired of them.
Got to keep it exciting.
But yeah, you got to change it up. You can't stick with the same all the time. It does get repetitive. So
I look at somebody who knows effects, and to me, the people that know those effects, especially if you're somebody who is vending and you are manufacturing too, and in the sense that you're dictating, hey, here's what I want my fireworks to look like. How much would you say that that's kind of played into your evolution as a designer? I would imagine a lot of the effects that you are like, I want that. You want that because you know something. What is it that you think that that makes for a beautiful show using that foundational base effect?
Right. Yeah. And it's been really nice to have my own stuff because, like you said, I know it and I know what I want and I know, how to use it. So that's why I designed the line. But, the line was designed mainly to stay away from Pro Line because Pro Line's so popular and it's more expensive. You're going to get a case of 201 that's $80 or $90, or you can get my case of 401 that's $100. Yeah. You're going to get the same time length of cake, and you can use 4 instead of 2. So it's just another option for people, and yet it can still be sold retail as well. So that's kind of why I went with that. But I like to use it in shows because it's just not as expensive as great Pro Line items. Now I love Pro Line, of course I love Pro Line. I've got it all. I used almost all the brands. So, it's not that I got anything against it, but, I wanted that extra option and the less cost, and the quality effects that, it's not got a bunch of crackle and green and red in it.
Yeah.
And I got plenty of it to work with. So that was the main idea behind all that. But yeah, it's definitely been nice as a designer to have it. I love using it, especially my shells. Gosh, I love my shells, and using a good amount of those in the Skywars show.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. I don't think too many people use canister shells at that place, but
I think you're right. I can't. AJ, when's the last time you saw a canister shell at Skywars? Jamie? Either one of you. And don't say the demo on Friday night.
A blind pyro? Yeah,
blind pyro, right?
even then, I don't know. I've done it twice, and I've never seen a canister shell in blind pyro, but there might have been.
You'll see anything else. Snakes and sparklers.
Ladybugs. Yeah.
Crackling balls.
Smoke grenades.
Oh, yeah, we got stuck with the crackle balls that first time around. But
you did last year, didn't you?
I did it last year. Yeah, we won last year.
What was the special effect that they wanted you guys to use?
I think it was fountains, dude. Like everybody got a ton of fountains.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't something specific that's jumped out as like, oh, yeah, this is the FU item.
There was a fountain that never ended, if I recall.
Yeah, we probably E-matched every single row or something and made it go really fast. I don't even remember, but it was, yeah. I would have preferred to have the Kraken balls over again.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I think anything quick burning in that novelty category would be optimal. Because like if the alternative is like fountains can be pretty, man. I mean, I've shot fountains can have an awesome effect for like ground level stuff, but like where they tend to put the blind pyro every year, I think they tend to create way more smoke than they do anything else.
Oh yeah.
If they moved it out like by the parking lot area, that would be, I think it'd be better. Because then, like you said, the smoke would move a lot more faster.
It's all trapped in that.
Really cool.
Fans.
Yeah.
Really cool fountains.
Surrounded.
It would be cool if they could get, what's the ones that are like lava? You know, they kind of spit out those color balls.
Yeah.
And they just
real
hit the
vibrant.
ground. Yeah, exactly. Like those would be cool. Stick them up on some poles and just let them trickle down. That would be really cool.
That'd be sweet.
But it's hard to find those that just do that. Usually it starts off with that and then it's like big crackle.
Yeah, right. You have to deal with the other minute and a half of the fountain to get to the part of the 20 seconds of the fountain that you appreciate.
There you go.
Yeah, just cut the one parts you don't want out.
Yeah.
New Hauter fountain. All lava.
All lava drops.
All lava drops.
Hauter fountain. That's right.
Hotter lava.
Love to see a red, white, and blue fountain.
Air quotes. We skip the parts.
We skip.
If you like your lava hot, try hotter lava.
You can call it the Swedish chef. Put a picture of Jamie on the front with a chef's
Swedish
hat.
balls.
Yeah.
Sounds like Jamie wants to do the commercial for it already.
I got this.
Roasting bird is heard of your fountain bird. Roasting bird here. Got an idea for a new line. You should make one called Queer Eye for the Black Sky.
Wow.
Ooh, how long you been saving that one up, Bo?
Actually, it just came to me tonight. I'm like, oh man, I had to put that in there somewhere. I had it worked into something elaborate earlier, but I was like, if I say it like that, everyone will start laughing like right in the middle, and then I won't be able to finish the question.
Well, you worked it in. Nice job.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Are you using a big chunk of your fireworks at Skywars this year?
I'm using some, mainly just my shells, honestly. I was going to use some cakes and stuff in it too, but I had such a nice selection to work with. I just didn't elect to use it. So, but a lot of my shells, there's about 240 of the canister shells in it.
That's awesome, dude. Do you find having your own line and designing with it as much as you do? Because I would imagine you probably used the snot out of it in some of the other competitions that you've done in the last couple of years, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So do you find that challenging? Because to a point, you probably have, like, do you ever feel like you've overused it to a point where you're like, okay, I got to watch it because you feel the competition that you're in is like, it's either bigger or you don't want people to kind of get a feel for what you're going to use. Like, how do you tackle that? How do you approach it?
I'd say not really, because, generally when your cakes, and especially the stuff in my line, it's used in certain areas of a show where the things that I'm going to do in a competition probably don't include cakes. They're going to include some comment work or mine work. That's going to be the crown jewel that wins the show. You know what I mean? For example, the Phoenix, that was, my cakes were in that show. Of course they were several scenes worth, but is that what put me over the top? No, it was Phoenix.
Yeah.
Same with PGI this year, the star patterns out of one rack.
That was crazy.
The show was an absolute disaster. I'm sure everyone's heard about it and seen my posts and whatnot, but
it still was amazing.
I still won the competition because the Comet and Mine work is what was going to win that show in the first place. The whole rest of the show was an absolute disaster. The part that I needed it to work to win worked.
Yeah.
It's not what you use, it's what you do with it.
So to answer that question, I don't get tired of it. I don't think it's repetitive. I don't think, they're always going to be there for great filler, whether it's a pre-roll into a finale with my brocade cakes or a falling leaf scene with my World Tale to Fallen Leaves cake.
Yeah.
Those are all staples that you're going to use something for that particular spot like that anyway. So I don't think you're ever going to get tired of using same effects over and over. I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm kind of like, I've only got 12 items or 11 items and you're going, I'm limited. You can't really just do a show on just that. You have to have more than just that.
Well, there's so much more in the verticality that you have too. I mean, even though you're in the Pro-Am and the Pro-Am is all 1/4, you still have plenty of headroom to build a sight picture, from ground to, your highest of verticals. So within that though, you can paint tons of different pictures and, flowing scenes using that same product that may not even look like that same product once you get everything layered in around it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do you classify yourself as a designer?
Oh, I know. This is the toughie, isn't it? This is the hard question. To turn the eyeballs around, look at yourself, huh? I don't really know how to answer that. How do I classify myself? I don't. What classifications would you lay someone in?
I don't know. I don't know that we've ever necessarily put classifications on designers as it is, but looking at people's work, there's always personality in shows. You can see that personality, whether it be in the shapings or the way that the show moves. What do you think? What's something that really makes you excited to design? And how do you think whatever that is changes what makes its way into your script in terms of what the product's actually doing?
And I guess I'd throw this in there. I remember they, in 21, I forgot the lady who was doing it for Skywars. She asked for 3 words that describe your show and describe you. So I guess you could kind of use that as an example too.
Okay, you really think outside the box too. So
I do.
Yeah.
Oh,
you do some very unique things that you're like, how do you do that? So go.
I appreciate that. So
go.
I'm going to say, first off, it's like many of us, and there's many of us that feel the same way. It's your first goal is to make the crowd happy. We do this because we love to hear the crowd cheer at the end. It's not to impress that person or that person in particular. It's the whole crowd. You want everybody happy and screaming at the end. So to get to that point, you got to put a good show together. And I think that the competitions and things like that, where we're doing specific things where I'm pushing in the envelope or going outside the box, has been worked in to me, into my designs, because I've been trying to make it to Skywars. So I don't know what else to say about that.
I mean, that's good, man. You are, I think we're all a sum of our journey so far.
Continuously growing.
Right. Whether you've shot, your first show and you're a sum of whatever that knowledge is, or whether you've shot, somebody like you shot like 10,000 freaking shows.
Not quite, but
you're a
lot,
yeah, right. You're a sum, and you're continuously learning as you go. You've never struck me as somebody who is a closed book. You seem like every time you go out, you're learning something, because it's like I've watched your shows evolve over the years, and everybody's personality kind of changes, and I don't think you're any exception to that, or you're any different. And I think there are discernible traits that you exhibit that sets you apart in the field. Now, admittedly, this year I'm probably less familiar with a lot of the participants than I've ever really been. You know, a lot of these guys are kind of a mystery to me because I've not really seen their shows.
I've seen some of Kevin's shows at PGI. He's good. He's always had a good show, a clean show with, excellent angles, no mistakes. Nice. They do good work. So I'm excited to see his show. And the other guy, the Tom from Florida, he shoots shows all the time, but he doesn't really design them or set up them. So this is a big ordeal for him. I think he's going to put on a great show. He sees Disney shows every day. I mean,
right.
How would you not put up a good show when that's your inspiration? Is you're watching Disney and Epcot shows your whole life?
Yeah, and if your practical day to day is kind of living and breathing that, I don't think there's any way that you haven't put something together in terms of just creative distribution of your design work. I am interested to see what he rolls out.
I'm just wondering about his queue count. I think it's going to be quite low, but are the fancy products going to make the difference? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Who's he? He was having some of his stuff designed, right? Some of the product.
Yeah. So it's always been a rule in Skywars because a lot of people thought this was like a point of contention or, that Disney was behind it cheating or something like that. And I'm like, guys, it's nothing like that. I said, I had considered using proximate stuff myself if I ever made it into this thing to get height specific comets and mines, because that's the only way you can get them. So, and it's in the rules. It says you can use that. You can use any 1.4 item period, and whether it's proximity stuff built here or Chinese 1.4, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
So when he got involved, the Santorian Sons, he got them to become a product sponsor, which means they had to sponsor X amount to Skywars. And he's pretty much the only one that's going to use their product because we all didn't want to spend that much money on high dollar items.
Is it hella expensive?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure some of the items are just phenomenal, but I mean, I think the cheapest item on the list, which was 5,600 pages of an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I think the cheapest thing on the list was $6 for a 22 millimeter crossette.
Holy shit.
And there's some things that are a lot more than $6. But you can get a 100 millimeter mine or comet, which is huge.
Yeah.
And not only that, they're American made, and the quality. It's what you see at Disney, guys. It's really fancy, really pretty, really glittery stuff. They got some good formulas.
Yeah, 100 millimeter mine is that even compliant with 1.4 Pro?
Apparently it is. They've got, it's on their price list as a 1.4 proximity item.
Holy hell. That's what? How big? That's what's almost 4 inches?
Yeah, it's almost 4 inch. That's over a 3-inch comet. So you could potentially see a really nice comet scene in there, but boy, would it be expensive.
Yeah.
Man, Brian's really going to have to think of a whole nother speech at the beginning. No longer it is going to be like, you can buy most of this stuff in the tent down the street.
It's changed a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as long as that stuff, and it sounds like they went about this the right way too, because you guys had access to it.
They sent us both a price list, so they became a product sponsor, and so they sent all the competitors a price list and say, here you go, if you want anything you better order it right now because we got to build it. And I was like, I looked the list over just to see if there was anything really super fancy that caught my eye. If there was something cool in there, I would have put an order in, and there's plenty of nice things on the list, but it's just too expensive. That was not what my goal was with Skywars. With my show, my goal was to buy cheap and a lot of items. So it didn't fit with my plan.
Having access to some of the stuff that I guess, like you said earlier, is height specific and, tailored to have very, very specific burn times, very, very specific height apexes and things like that. Like that's one thing that I've noticed with Chinese product is, especially when you do really, really large scenes and you're creating a really, really large sight picture, if burn times aren't accurate or your height in which things apex kind of fizzle out, you get some that burn out quicker than others, and et cetera, that can really screw up your sight picture. So I think there's utility in that, but like your music selection and just the flow of your show. You know, he's got a music background, so I'm totally confident in his ability to put together a good music track. So I'm very interested to see what he rolls out so that flows. You do want your spots in the time that you allot your show to do its thing, to have these big climactic moments. And those big climactic moments, if you can roll out a sick sight picture, then that can do wonders for your wow factor.
Yeah. I'm excited to see a show just because of all that fancy product. I think it's going to be nice. It's going to be definitely different than what's ever been at Skywars before.
Nice.
But again, I think his queue count's going to be quite low compared to me and Kevin's.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that'll be enough to push it over the top, but it could be. Maybe the judges are like, oh, this is innovative. Look at all this fancy prox product put into a 1-4 outdoor show.
Yeah. Yeah.
What software are you using to script all this in?
I use Fireworks Sim to script. I got the offer from Drew, like everybody did, to help him work with him. And I said, I appreciate the offer, but I just, for something like this that I've been working in the software I'm used to, I'd rather just stick with it. So I declined, but I thank you and appreciate the offer, and met him at PGI and talked to him and stuff. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Yeah. But yeah, I use Fireworks Sim, which is, for me, the one that I prefer right now.
Yeah, FW Sim is interesting, man. Yeah, AJ and I were talking about that a little bit last week. It is a different workflow, and I think everybody gets accustomed. It's just like anything else in life, right? You get used to a certain tool, and then you kind of comparatively have biases toward a certain tool for one reason or another. But the times that I played around with FW Sim, like I was impressed with their graphical displays.
How long has it been since you played with it?
You know, it's been years, dude. I think that I haven't. It's probably been
Fireworks Sim, guys. Not
a couple hours.
Not this thing. Yeah. So I was going to say, since then, I was the same way. I've been using it for about 3 or 4 years. I'm not exactly sure, but it's drastically improved, and the graphics had a major update not too awful long ago. So it looks even better now, and it's pretty cool on that. I really like the way it works for designing shows and the way I do it. I downloaded them both at the same time when I first started using Fireworks Sim. I'd actually won a hobbyist copy of Finale 3D on a raffle somewhere on one of them Facebook raffle pages that probably don't exist anymore. But I had that, and I said, well, I'm going to switch from Cobra Show Creator and go to one of these two softwares. I downloaded them both and played with both of them, and I just did not like it all Finale, and was like a fish in water with Fireworks Sim. So that's the one I went with, and at the time it was very primitive compared to what it is now, even though it wasn't really primitive at the time. But there's been so many different updates and additions and add-ons, and even things that he specifically added on for me to design my Skywars show. He did an update just recently and added a feature that I asked him to add. So he's really good about updating based on customer requests as well.
Yeah. What was the feature, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I wanted to export things in a manner so I could tell it what angle to put on a slat. So I'll have to give you a little background so you understand it. So the Pyro Llama wheels have 24 angles, right?
Yeah. Yep.
My Mongoose, we can fit 24 cues worth of 22s on one slat, on one angle. So, and my Mongoose has 24 cues per slat. And I said, boy, wouldn't that be nice if we got 0 angle all to go to the first slat, 15 all to go to the next slat, then we go to the next one. So our wiring is going to be stupid easy. We were doing one angle at a time. It's on the cue sheet per angle. First thing we do, wire those 24 angles on that slat, move it over and start with the next angle. So to get that to export that way was a challenge. It was not in the software, and it was probably in Finale. You could probably have done this in Finale already. Finale's got a ton of great features, like everything there. We're just Fireworks Sim's in the stages where Finale was probably 10 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, when they were still adding features and getting to the point they're at now. So it's catching up pretty quick, though.
Yeah. Well, and like to your point, though, the user base, right? When the user base is there and You have someone that understands the need. I'm sure FWSim loves and appreciates the fact that you know exactly like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this did this? Because like this creates efficiencies that are going to make my life a lot easier. Like a lot of times they probably don't know. You got to know the problem to know how to potentially offer up a solution to it.
Exactly. Yeah. He loves the user input. He actually loves to hear from me and hear my ideas. And if I've had 10 ideas, he's probably implemented 8 of them. So it's really nice, and he loves the feedback from me and anyone else, of course. But yeah, it's pretty cool to have a guy that's willing to work behind the scenes and take care of things. So to speak to that, Mongoose is the same way. I've got Neil and Don that are extremely supportive, and we're working now with another thing to export from Fireworks Sim, and then it'll import into the Mongoose editor properly to where I get everything addressed right into these multi-cues we use. And that's going to be an automatic thing, and it'll be perfect just the way I scripted it in the Mongoose. Right now, it's a little different. It groups multi-cues by time rather than by what they are, So we're fixing that. So both companies are working together to come up with a solution for me to get the best possible firing script file.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Can I ask what's really a multi-cue?
So on Mongoose, a multi-cue, it's basically when it can be different things. It can be all cues that are fired at one exact time, or it can be a timed multi-cue that can be up to a minute long is the parameter for that. But it could be a run of comets across the front. It could be 4 cakes firing. It could be all your strobes firing. It could be where you kind of slowly do fountains across the front. Any of those can be a multi-cue. And it's best to use a multi-cue with the Mongoose because it's sending out a signal to fire one multi-cue, and that tells it all those cues are already in the units when it's loading. When you load the script initially, the multi-cues are loaded into the units, and then it's only sending a signal out to fire that multi-cue. So if you don't use a multi-cue, let's say you have a 25 shot run across the front that's milliseconds apart and across the front. If you don't use a multi-cue, it's got to send out the signal to fire every single cue individually. If it's sent out in a multi-cue, it tells it that multi-cue's time to fire, and then it fires all of those in time together when they're supposed to go. Because
interesting.
Yeah. So
like a script inside of a script, basically.
Right. It's pretty much every single multi-cue is a separate script. Yes. And except for, obviously if they're instant, that really isn't much of a script. But yeah, it's a mini script inside of a script. So
it's a Mongoose feature, or is that a feature inside of the program you're using?
That's Mongoose uses the multi-cues. So the firing scripting software I use uses stepper cues, and that's what I script with if I'm doing anything more than one or any runs or anything like that. So I essentially need the scripting software to export something that groups all my steppers together, and that will be automatically pulled in as a multi-cue in the Mongoose. That's the goal we're getting to. So right now we can use, Mongoose has a multi-cue button that it group everything into multi-cues based on time or based on if they're just all fired at once. And you can slide it from like 0 to 250 milliseconds for the timing. And so if you do it automatically, like I said, if you have a run that starts at the left and ends at the right, but halfway through that run, your shells in the back launch up. When you see that export in the script, you're going to see comet, shell, comet. Well, when you go to try to make multi-cues automatically, it groups them all together rather than making one for the comets and making one for the shells. And this will fix that. We will have every single stepper item, no matter what time it was fired, will be only grouped with those cues that it's associated with. So we're really refining how the multi-cue export will be done for my particular show. And it's going to be a nice feature going forward.
Is that something that Don and Neil do to optimize the load on the module when it comes to the way the resolutions are handled internally in the system?
I think it's the more from the base radio that's transmitting to the modules.
Yeah.
Or units, the field units. I shouldn't say modules, they're field units. But, basically, like I said, if you're going to send out, let's say 500 cues in a matter of a few seconds, I don't know who might be doing that, but
That sounded like maybe me.
It's going to send out, it takes up to, I think he said about 20, possibly 20 milliseconds between pulses to send out the signal to fire. So that many cues that fast, it really won't send them out fast enough. So it needs to send out a cue, a multi-cue. And we're only sending out 10 or 15 signals in a few seconds rather than 500.
Or 2000 or whatever the accumulated number of multi-cues would be over a certain timeline. And that's really cool because I can imagine that at that point it really does make things more efficient on the field unit in the field to handle that, because it's sitting there already pre-programmed, with its internal guts and brains. Like, okay, I know exactly what to do as soon as I receive this signal, because I'm just going to rip and tear through this subsection of scripts. Slats,
right?
It sounds like
exactly.
Yeah.
So it really cleans it up and allows it to, like I said, it's going to allow it to fire it flawlessly, just the way
really cool,
I'm seeing it on the screen. Now, we played with it, we exported it, and Mongoose has a simulator I can connect to on the internet, and me and Neil got together and we put all 99 modules on there, and we ran the script with multi-cues and ran it without, and it was like 15 seconds late after the finale when it stopped, when we didn't have anything in multi-cues.
Oh, really?
It was that slow transmitting back and forth. Now, we are across the internet, and if it was in person live, it probably wouldn't be that severe, but it probably still would be noticeable.
Yeah. It's really ingenious that they found a solution to that, because they're relying on the field units locally to do that processing, right? And they found a way to preload it, so it essentially takes what little latency exists over the wireless network and squashes it.
Right. So for example, this particular show is over 3,000 cues. If I had to send 3,000 signals out versus, it's probably going to drop down. If I had to guess, it'll be about 300 actual cues that it sends out that obviously have many, many cues within them. So it's a really, really great design. They really are pretty smart about what they did with the system. I just love it.
I would agree with that, man. We did get a chance to talk to them on the podcast, and both of those guys really seem like they know their shit.
They really do. And I heard that episode, and it was a great episode. It was a good one. So I appreciate you having them on here.
Yeah. Good dudes.
Now you were saying you're 3,000 plus cues. So how many modules do you have total out there then?
It's going to be 99.
Field units.
Okay. Field units.
Sorry.
They're FUs, AJ. FUs.
FUs. I love it. You can just make it a 100.
I mean,
one more FU. Just
I
one
got
more
99
FU.
modules. I got 99 field units and a module ain't one.
99 field units and a module ain't one.
That's going to be what we put on our shirt.
Oh my God. I shouldn't be participating in this.
Bo's feeling guilty. Good deal. We got him accomplished.
So I you know what? It's kind of going back to the whole multi-cue thing.
Yeah.
How does Finale handle multi-cues? Is it equipped?
Okay, so I believe that I don't know Finale at all, but I hear there's something very similar to a stepper, and that it already does automatically. If you use that function in Finale 3D, that it will export it and group them together, or have that identifier with that set of groups.
But does that require any kind of manual intervention on your end? I mean, I almost wonder, and I guess, we're trying to bridge the gap, because this is breaking my brain though, from a perspective of I'm just so used to the traditional workflow of, you put all your cues on a timeline, and then at the end you get a puked out script, right? That just got every single timestamp from beginning to end, and there's really nothing in between it. So I'm almost wondering, I guess in the FW Sim file or architecture in which you work, do you have to do anything in your software to say, okay, this particular run, I want that to export as a multi-cue? Or does the software pick up on it automatically, or is that what you're trying to?
That's the bridge that we're trying to gap right now, because it doesn't automatically do it right now. So when I export from Fireworks Sim right now, we get just exactly what you said, a big 3,100 line long Excel file. And that goes into the Mongoose editor. And then there you're looking at your 3,100 lines of every single time in order. And so, like I said, where you run into the problem, where it's not really a problem, but when you run into where you want it to be as tightly perfect as I do for the show, you run into things where, like I said, you've got more than one multi-cue starting before the next multi-cue ends, right? So on the screen, it does not know, and there's nothing there to identify that this one, not this one, not this one, this one, all should be together, because that was my stepper cue in the script. But there's another multi-cue starting there, and it just can't make heads or tails of it at the time. But again, in Finale, it's already, I believe, a functionality where that works, and it already does automatically do that. This is just something Fireworks Sim didn't have, and now I'm asking for it because we want it, and I want to be able to get that perfection of every single stepper cue I created. I want it to be its own multi-cue. And now when the updates are done, and I know that Neil and Lucas were talking. Lucas is the guy from Fireworks Sim, and Neil's the guy from Mongoose. But they're working together. Neil will have to write some code. Lucas will have to write some code. We'll test it, and it should work. It should do what we want.
Yeah. God, that's awesome, man. That's really interesting. I mean, I like stuff that kind of I feel kind of like pushes my mental capacity, and then that's it. For sure, because I'm looking at it like, wait, what the f-? Hold on, let's rewind and go through this again. What is it doing? But I like it, and I mean I understand the efficiencies that go along with it, because I think that's probably a hurdle that any wireless system designer has had to deal with. And when I say wireless system designer, I mean like the OEMs. Like the OEMs building these systems, like there's inherently there just exists latencies on those networks. And it's like, how do you overcome them, especially when you get somebody like AJ who's got 10 billion cues within a fraction of a second of each other. And it's like, what's that network traffic going to look like?
Right. Yeah. And it's that's one of the things that I know Don and Neil know their latencies on all that stuff. I'm not even, knowledgeable about that, but it's kind of a good thing that I started this talk with them, because I could have just, multi-cued it like normal, and it may not have come out as good.
So it sounds like, let me just break this down to make it sound easier. So basically it's sending out one signal, and then after that, the field unit doesn't need any more. It's using the internal clock on the field unit itself to just fire that sequence of effects, pretty much.
Right. And that's not just one unit. That can be across as many units as you want. So
I was just making it easy though. I was like saying,
sure.
Yeah. Because I'm sure like all the field units are probably, they're pulling the wireless network for a time code to figure out, where do I need to be, so they can make sure that all the clocks mesh up and match up. But it's just almost like once they get to that, they rip it based on, I would assume, a time signature that each unit has had previously. And then everything just is in line, because, whether you've got field unit 1 at the left end of the field, and field unit, let's say 10 at the other end of the field, if they're all pulled on the same wireless clock, they're at the same time unit, it internally at that particular field unit physically, it's like, okay, I know I have a cue that I need to shoot that's, first in the sequence, and then down the line, every other one, just like, it probably just waits its turn, and it starts that same, what sounds like subscript, and then you get your resulting run.
Yep. That's pretty much exactly how it works. And it's smart. Like you said, they knew the limitation, and they did what they had to do to skirt that limitation. Yeah.
That's badass.
It is. I think it's pretty smart. I like it. When I first started using it, I'm like, what the hell are these stupid multi-cues and why do we need them? This is dumb.
Well, right. Because I'm sure you came from the same, like, like we all essentially design, I guess, the same way, but this is like, it's different because you look at a script and you think, okay, first event in the script, last event at the script, and then there's 10,000 in between the first one and the last one. Mm-hmm. And that's always the way that we've thought. So when you have the machine or the software going in and saying, oh, well, actually to make this more efficient, maybe we should consider making this a multi-cue script or something. You're like, excuse me, what is that? And what does it do? What's the benefit?
I'd like to expand on the multi-cue since you're so interested. There's actually quite a bit more functionality than just what we're talking about. So I use the multi-cue function all the time. So I'll just use the race as an example. So when we go do our pyromusical 1 minute 4 wide show, well, I also do a national anthem to start the night. We do a finish line shot, and then we shoot things from out back, like a canister shells or some stuff like that after the race is over and before they come out and do their interview with the driver.
Yeah.
So I write a multi-cue for the national anthem. I can script it in my software, export it just the same as the rest of the script, import it as a multi-cue, and create a button that says national anthem. I'll shoot, 10 or 15 comets in a run time, and then 2.5 seconds later, launch up 8 salutes, 12 salutes,
Nice.
Click the button when they say red. It runs the script and does a timed national anthem shot.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then when the racer takes the checkered flag and they get 3 slices for their finish line shot when they cross the checkers, that's a multi-cue. I just add 3 cues in there, click a button, name it finish line shot, throw it up there. Regular shows, I'll take some shells out of my finale and I'll make multi-cues for dark sky buttons. I'll take something that's already going to fire. Let's say I'm shooting 50 shells in the finale that are all individually matched. I'll take 2 or 3 or sets of 3 or whatever, and I'll make myself 3 or 4 buttons that say dark sky. If I use them, they're gone. If I don't use them, they're firing in the finale. But I've got a button right there on the screen right there for it.
Yeah, that's cool. So you're creating like a macro and an easy access. Okay, I know exactly what I'm going to shoot. Are you doing that, the design for all of those things in Fireworks Sim, or is that something that, okay, so you're designing each one of those little segments, and then when you export it, is it part of the greater script at that point?
Sometimes you do it in Fireworks Sim. You can just do it in the Mongoose editor software. You can write any multi-cue without that. But I like to take, say, the national anthem and just any random national anthem because they're all so close to the same, unless someone's just really dragging it out, singing it live.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to press a button and 2.5 seconds later launch salutes, and it's going to have the red when they say red, and it's going to say bombs are going to be bursting when they say bombs bursting. Yeah. So I do that just to script it in there easier, but I don't need to. I can literally just go there and say first comet shoots at 0, the next comet shoots at 10th of a second later, next one 10th of a second later, go down the line left and right with the 2 sets of comets, and then tell it to wait 3 seconds or 2.5 seconds and then launch 6 salutes every 0.2 of a second. And you don't have to but I do it in the Fireworks Sim because then it's already all there. I don't have to manually do it. But that becomes tricky because you've got a musical script and then you've got all these other items. What I do is usually go beyond the music, beyond the time.
Yeah.
And script add. So if sorry, let me back up. I'll do the national anthem. I'll cut and paste it from the national anthem song, bring those cues over into the main script file, for simulation, install it. And then that's past the end of the music. So I'll have all my other shots programmed in, then I can export it. So we get the proper cueing and where to put everything. And then when I'm in the Mongoose editor, when you group those ones into a multi-cue manually that I want to say do the national anthem, when you click it and create a button, it asks you if you want to remove it from the timeline. So now I run my script. I don't accidentally fire these cues that I put at the end of it.
Yeah. Okay. So even though they existed in the raw script output, you're essentially grouping them together and creating a designator that pulls them out of that sequence. And then you have control over that when you create, your macro or your button,
right.
Subscripts those.
Exactly. So if I'm doing it with my canister shells for a dark sky button, I don't click that remove from timeline script. I let them stay in the timeline. But if I want it to be removed because I only added them into my timeline to get an export, then I can easily manually remove them when I create that multi-queue, and they're not going to fire with the timed script.
Well, that, sir, is a horse of a different color. Yeah, that's interesting, man. I like that.
That's something I've never even heard of before.
Yeah, it's really useful. I mean, like, I didn't really understand them up front. And then once I started understanding what they were, I'm like, well, hell, I can do a lot with this.
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah. I use them all the time now. I'm like, oh, I can just create a multi-queue real quick.
Like the Avengers in the multiverse.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. The multi-queue verse.
Multi-queue verse.
Any of these big live events where you're constantly always having to chase variabled points of interest, like, national anthems, like you said earlier, that's probably one that pyrotechnicians, it kind of, they need that, right? You need to be able to initiate what's essentially a sequence. Football games, any live sporting events, any live entertainment events that aren't just a show from beginning to end, where you have a point of interest where you need to emphasize something and have control over it. Like that's big, and being able to do that, easily, and be able to look at whatever your software is running the show and saying, okay, well, I know exactly what this is because it's I got a button for it or I got a line for it. That makes the job easier.
Yeah, it's definitely, and football games, like you said, or other, big gaming events or things like that, where companies have to shoot something every touchdown and they want, a nice run of comments or something. It's perfect for that. You can have a button, touchdown 1, touchdown 2, whatever you want to name them. Yeah. And you could have all those sequences. And then if they don't have, I guess if you burn it all at the end, if they win, then that could already be in the script as something else as well. Yeah. Or you could just hit the buttons.
Yeah.
We like clicking buttons too, don't we?
Rocket's red glare. I swear to God, I can get all these. Do not doubt me. I can get them all.
Click, 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 click.
Bro, did you script that? No.
I didn't do it.
No, I
not.
Got bad mouse hands.
Yeah.
Mouse hands?
See that mouse hands. Mouse hands.
Did you use a mouse?
Not at the moment.
I forgot you used the other thing. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I guess I use my mouse to click those cues, but I do have the Meerkat, the remote, which is still under development.
Yeah. When's that coming out? I think we talked to Don and Neil about that briefly, but I don't think that it's not ready yet.
I haven't heard anything. I forget to ask. I should have asked last time I spoke with him because I haven't heard anything about it. But I know that there was an issue. The particular physical device that I have, I gave it to several of us to play with and get feedback on, and I guess one of them tried to burn someone's house down or something. No, not really, but the battery overheated while it was
John's
charging.
John's gonna call you on Friday.
I'll tell him, hey, it was all for entertainment. Jamie paid me off. But yeah, so there was an issue with the particular hardware that they chose, and they went to a much better one. So they don't want those problems. I don't know if it was a cheap Chinese Nintendo Switch thing or what it was that they were particularly using, but whatever one it was had a problem when someone ran into it. So that's why we do the beta testing stuff, right?
Perfect. So
that
better your
kind of
house
stuff
than
finds
somebody
out.
than somebody else's, right?
No, it really didn't try to burn anyone's house down, but the battery did get hot and expand, I think. So,
did you smell that? Where'd you store that? It's in the cab with the rest of the fireworks.
Man, that smells like battery.
Those are the new hotter batteries.
Samsung does it too. Hotter batteries.
Hotter batteries. High performance.
Light up your night.
Burn you, they will.
Oh God, I love it.
Don't put it near your ear.
So what are you most excited for in your show?
I was just
Winning.
about to ask that
Were you?
question.
Okay, well, you asked me your way then. You asked me your way.
Oh, God. No, that was the same way. I was going to ask him.
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, obviously the wheel work. I mean, we all know I'm doing the wheels, so I'm pretty excited to see how that turns out because we're going up higher than anyone ever has at Skywars. So pretty excited about that. You know what? We're going to get a helicopter and we're going to put like a 360-degree wheel sideways, like vertical under it, like horizontal. So it shoots around the helicopter. Yeah. They didn't say we couldn't use the helicopter. Let's check the rules. I don't see it anywhere in here where I can't use a helicopter, Rob.
Do the Red Bull thing. You guys flying down where they're shooting fireworks off of them. Canister shells.
Did you get your higher wheels?
I think so.
Yeah, we're going to the moon.
We're going to the moon.
We're going to the moon.
The moon, baby.
Going to the moon.
I think so. We're trying. I should know more tomorrow. I'm going to confirm that tomorrow, but should be up there a ways.
Well, that's good. That's good. If I could have the floor for a minute. For just pennies a day, you can help a pyrotechnician like Shaun. Shaun has dreams. Dreams of spinning, glittering wheels that light up the night sky, reaching new heights of beauty and wonder. But without your help, these wheeling dreams will remain grounded. All right, that's all I got. I had this part in here written too, where you say, you were supposed to, I never sent this to you, but it would have been great. Where you go, I just want my wheels to reach the sky.
For just 25 cents a day, you can help Hauter reach higher heights.
Can I plug my GoFundMe now?
Do it, baby. Go. You have the floor.
I don't have a GoFundMe, but I did have some help. I asked the Oklahoma Pyrotechnics Club to help me on that, and they came together and
that's awesome, dude.
Grouped up a good chunk of change, like a pretty good chunk of change towards it.
That's cool.
They're not cheap at all.
I can imagine. I cannot imagine. So I don't know the answer to this. All I know is that when AJ does the wheels, and we always talk about the height compared to the lifts, is it hundreds for the week? How do you have to rent those?
Well, luckily enough, they're letting me rent it for a day, Saturday.
Okay,
so
that's cool.
They have to deliver it and pick it up, so they have to bring it to me on Friday because they're not open on Saturday and Sunday. So they give it to you for one day on Saturday. It's not like they're doing anything special. They all do this. So I'm essentially have to rent them both for one day. They're going to deliver them on Friday and pick them up on Monday. So
cool.
It's just expensive. Good Lord, just the delivery is expensive, guys. They take a semi. You can't move them any other way.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, for that big boy, yeah.
Well, even the 85 footers, you have to use a semi. They're like 36,000 pounds or 38,000 pounds or something.
Jeez.
Yeah, just the 85 footers, and they're not much different from the bigger ones. So I don't know.
What is that? I mean, what's their footprint on those? What did KCAP have last year? Was theirs the same? Was it the same height, or yours?
I think they had 85s, didn't they?
85s.
I think. I'm not 100% sure.
You're using a scissor lift, right?
No,
you're using a boom.
Yeah, I'm using the man lifts just like they did. Okay. But so the rules changed, because of somebody's cables. AJ, I'm not talking about you, I promise.
That's because KCAP took all the room. So
and then KCAP had to borrow to a lane last year. I think if I remember right, there was a company that didn't use their lane, and if they had used their lane, KCAP might have been in trouble. I don't know. I'm sure they would have figured something out, but
that's okay. They shot on Sunday.
Exactly. Hindsight 2020. It didn't matter.
I was almost screwed if Tim Trapp didn't. Thank God he didn't use this front lane. If not, then I would have had a lot of dark sky.
Dude, that would have been no bueno.
GoFundMe page. We can rent out our lanes when you have one at Skywars. I'm going to use mine. I'm going to go ahead and put it up on
$100 a square foot.
SkyWarsLaneTrader.com.
Bidding starts now. Yeah. Closing bid ends on August 1st.
I'll lease you 6 feet for $700.
Dollars.
I'm out.
Well, that's got to do something for your loadout, right? When you get to the event, if they're going to be delivering on Friday, how do you mentally have to kind of compartmentalize? All right, here's what I can set up and here's what I can't, so I can make sure that I get my lifts to exactly where they need to be, because you only have so much room inside each lane.
Exactly. That is a trick. So, our rear lane is 20 feet wide. Our front lane's 10 feet wide. So the lift doesn't even fit in the front lane. So they're not going in the front lanes. They're going in the back lanes. So essentially, we're going to set up everything we can in our lane, and it's just going to be sitting at the very front of the lane while we set up through the week. Yeah. And we'll drive the lifts in, and everything will get moved. Wow. So, and we need to do that anyway, because you don't, despite all the planning and you put everything on paper and you look at this and that, you get there and you go, okay, yep, that's going to shoot the lift. So, it's best to place all that stuff after the lifts are there anyway. So, but we're going to have a front comet line back there, and all my canister shells, obviously back there, all the 62 millimeters back there. Those can all share room in the very front of that lane. So there's cakes. That's the only thing that's kind of concerning. The cakes are fairly close to the lifts.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to be wise about that when we place them.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the wheel work. You're using the Pyro llamas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you can fit on those units.
Every 5 degrees, right?
That's 15 on Pyro llamas.
15.
Is it?
Okay.
Yeah. So a 12 shot would be every 30 degrees, a 24 shots every 15. And then if we're as cool as Timmy Jameson, we have 360 degree wheels that have one every 10 degrees, 36 shots.
That's stupid.
Yeah, that was a work of art.
That
Brian
wheel was crazy.
Well, someday someone will have one that's got one every 1 degree, and we'll have a 50 foot radius wheel hanging in the air.
Reloadable wheels.
2 giant cranes holding it in the sky. What's that up there? It's 600 feet up there. That's a wheel.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was like a care flight or something. That the one that Brian made for Tim at Pyro Jam, that Brian Craig made. That looked that was pretty sick.
That's the one I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure the one that just happened.
Yeah. It's like AJ's framework, only with the trough.
Yep.
And
I
each
thought
one's
that was
removable.
really
it looks
slick.
like.
Yeah. And it does take 36 shots, so it's got a shot every 10 degrees instead of 15.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
As soon as you posted that picture,
to Brian, how much do you think that wheel weighed?
It can't be in that much.
Take wild guesses.
I'm not guessing
pounds.
because you already told me the answer to this.
150
Oh, did you?
pounds.
No, I told you. Damn it.
I just said I wasn't going to guess, though.
I know.
I'm not going to spoil it.
How many shots is it?
Oh, I'm talking about unloaded. There we go. That's the
Unloaded.
word.
What it weigh? 40 pounds, 50?
60 pounds.
60 pounds.
That's crazy.
impressive.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about even the Pyro Llama wheels. They're not very heavy.
I feel like mine weighs 60 pounds. It only has 18 shots.
It weighs 20. If that. Do more push-ups.
How do you work out 18 shots around a 360 degree wheel? Is that every 40 degrees?
Every 30.
30. Strange.
But you can adjust them to make them different angles if you needed.
Yeah, I've got a Craig Co wheel that's got 12 on it.
Oh, wait, mine has 36 on it, or mine has 36 now, doesn't it? Yeah, so it's heavier.
It's heavier.
I forgot you modified all my wheels.
You got any design philosophies for wheel work?
I definitely did some things that I don't think that I've seen. I mean, I don't know for sure, but not any particular philosophies other than, if you're going to do this, make it worth it. It's kind of like the Phoenix or the PGI show I just did. The show's riding on the wheels. The rest of the show is cool. It is obviously. I'm going to put together a decent show, but the wheels are what's going to make it or break it. So
yeah.
Are you going to do any testing, or have you done testing at all?
Not really from a wheel. I mean, I've done some things here and there, but no. I mean, I could go out and do some tests, but it's kind of hard to get a lift. So, I mean, I've shot,
just hang it off.
Go to a job site and just be like, hey, man, can I borrow that for a little bit?
Hold this.
I'm going to run off with your 85-foot lift. I'll be back in a couple days.
No, just go to the job site. Be like, hey, guys, I'll tell you what, buy a case of beer, stick around till tonight. You'll see something really cool. Let me borrow your lift for a minute.
Just go to the rental place and bring your wheel and say, hey, I need to see if this works.
There you go.
Before I rent it.
Oh, I'm sure that'd go over well.
Exactly. You're going to do what with our lift?
Just wait. It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Trust me.
That is super cool. So
you will rent so many more lifts after I do this.
You know, whoever rented the first lift, the rental companies owe them because they have rented a lot of lifts to Pyros now.
I see more and more every year at Skywars.
Yeah. How many's going to be there this year?
I'm not sure. I think they should just have some for the club and just have them for Skywars.
Just buy them and rent them out.
Well, I don't know anything about it, but I know that Kevin Adams has Pyro llama wheels. I don't know. I know that he's got 3. I don't know if they're putting up 3 lifts or 1 or what they're doing with them, but that's because we borrowed our Pyro llama wheel heads from the same people.
So and how many do you have out there?
I'm just going to have two wheels, left and right, which definitely is a design challenge because, you know, you got 2 positions and not 3, and not a middle and a left and right. Yeah. One position is easy to work with. 3 is easy to work with. 2, any number of even positions is hard to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's like, and your effect selection too, that you ultimately decide to put on the wheel is going to, it can make or break what happens in your sight picture, right? Because I would imagine you're trying to build around your wheels while integrating them into the show. So, you know, creating those big pictures does take a pretty creative eye to get things nice and even width too, because if you got if you got 22 millimeter mines on the wheels, I mean, those are pretty quick, short and to the point. So figuring out how to build around that kind of bridges those gaps and creates a full sight picture.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the 20 millimeter raccoons are pretty nice that came in. So,
they are.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet. They're real nice. So I think that's going to help a little bit. They have a little more duration, and probably they're definitely, they stay grouped together real nice. And go about the same height. So they're pretty cool.
I think they're super consistent too.
They are. I'm really excited to see some of the things I did. I used a few of them over the 4th just to test them to make sure I was happy with them. And boy, they're nice. Yeah. So some of the runs and things I've done on them, I'm really excited to see, especially with strobing effects and straight effects and comets. And Raccoon doesn't have any comets, but I did get some Dominator 20 millimeter, 22 comets. So
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty excited to see both of those on the wheel.
In 20? I could have sworn they had comets. Maybe they're not available here, but I swore I saw them on YouTube.
They probably had them on the list to be made, and I don't know that they got made or not. I mean, I think we got lucky to get what we did get on the Raccoon 20s, honestly. So it would be nice if they make some comets for them. That would be really, really nice.
Yes, it would.
Not that the 30s are bad. The 30s aren't, but they just go so much further higher. It's unreal how much different height you get out of a 30 than a 22.
There's a pretty good delta between those two. But thankfully, you know, once you're at that 30, I think that's like, you know, I thought what Tim used to pyro jam off the wheel in the 30s was pretty badass. Like you can get some really nice shapings and distances. You get bigger effects, you get better burn times. You can really kind of bridge those gaps if you have any gaps in effectively what amounts to your mid-level in a big 1-3 show like that. So I can imagine it's a little different probably for a 1-4 show, because 85 feet, AJ, where do you figure that puts that vertical? Is that up in your mid-high at that point?
85 feet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always consider mid-high like your, that's like, because, like 100 feet, anything below 100 feet is your mid.
Yeah, it's up there. I mean, because that's your point of origination at that point. So again, depending on what effects you use, it kind of creates just a different point of origin, kind of gives you more verticality to work with. Shaun, last question I had for you was, and this one I think people will find somewhat interesting, is tell everyone how quickly you designed your Skywars show.
Why should I give that information away?
Because then you'll get a lot of people calling and be like, hey, can you script this for me real quick?
Well, I do have that every once in a while, but I mean, for the size show as it is, it should have taken a lot longer than it did. But, those stepper cues that I use saved me a lot of manual entry. So it's pretty much sitting there programming stepper cues and making it look the way I want. So the main body of the show I did do in 1 day in 20 hours.
That's awesome, man.
And now I will say I've probably put at least 20 hours in since then, making adjustments. I've put another 10 or 15 hours into organization, racking system stuff, making rack sheets, and marking cue sheets, making the cue sheets, doing all kinds of other stuff, working on this script in the background, things like that. But actual physical time on it, I'm going to say less than 24 hours total over 2 days.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
And some people might think that, well, did you just slap it together and is it going to be trash? Absolutely not. It's not going to be trash.
You've always worked quickly if it comes to competition shows or just, the shows that you're doing in general. It's not that you're, putting less effort into them by doing them quickly. You're just, you are first and foremost an industry guy, right? So your time is valuable to you, but it's also work. And nobody wants to spend the entirety of their day working. I think the hobbyist differs in the instance that we do this and we do it in our free time. So we enjoy it and that's what we're doing. Not to say that you don't enjoy it, but you got other stuff to do. Right.
It's a job. And when it's time to do it, it's time to do it. Yeah, I do it all the time, last minute. I know I prefer to do it sooner than later, but for example, John Mickert had his show scripted, I think the week that he got selected, right?
Yeah.
So, these guys are like, I don't know how you do that. You drive me nuts with this wait until last minute thing. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not technically waiting until last minute, but look at the advantages of waiting. I got to watch all the shows at PGI and take ideas.
Yeah.
I got to see things throughout the season that other people, they have to go in and make adjustments now if they saw something they like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with waiting for me. The PGI show, I think I scripted it literally mere days before we left. I just last minute was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I sat down, picked a song, did what I wanted to do with the stars. I knew the stars was going to happen. That'd been in my head for quite some time. And I was going to throw that out at PGI. I just didn't know what song to use or how to do it yet. And then I found the song and I'm like, I think that's the one. And I scripted it, sat down, scripted it in 1 day, made my mistake of using the wrong cue sheet. But, it didn't bother me. If that show had gone right, it'd have been a spectacular display. It was good, but it definitely in my eyes was awful. But it wasn't the last minute thing that caused that problem. That was a mistake on my end that, it's a godsend. Hey, Skywars is coming. Let's make this mistake at PGI and learn from it so that doesn't happen at Skywars.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't mind, can you elaborate a little more on what mistake you did make for PGI and just so people can learn from that?
Yeah, no problem. It was a really simple, easy mistake to make that it shouldn't have happened. And I really, even at this point, still don't know exactly how it happened. All I know is that it happened and that I know to not make sure I do that again. So what I did is when I go to pull my shows, I script it. I spit out the cue sheet that has my pull sheet at the bottom. I take my pull sheet. I go to the warehouse. I pull it. If I'm in there and I go, I scripted these these slices in, but I'm out of that. Inventory was off. Now I got to go pick something else. So I make a note on my pull sheet and I go home and I fix it in the computer. And so that way that before we print it out, it's fixed and we have the correct names on the sheet. So I did that. I made some adjustments in the show. I added some cakes in, re-cued it. And what happened was when it re-cued it, it changed the placing of the items. And the items that I switched out were so close that we didn't even notice it when we're plugging it in. Like it was,
man.
Yeah. So like we didn't catch it on site at all because we plugged everything into what the cue sheet said. But the cue sheet changed numbers when I re-cued it, and I somehow printed out the old script from the original export.
No. Yeah.
And the system's looking and firing what's on the new script. So essentially, mainly what happened is it put one thing in about, okay, so there's 24 lines, 24 cues. On all my fronts, I had 24 either cake or slice items. And it added something in at about line 7, and that kicked every other cue down 1 cue. So pretty much every cue was firing 1 cue before it should have. So every time it was supposed to be a set of slices, a set of cakes went off.
Oh God.
So which is why the show was just, in my opinion, awful. But watching it wasn't that bad. But it wasn't what I was expecting when I was firing. And I'm sitting here going, what the hell is going on? What's wrong? Ruth's like, man, you're doing so amazing. How do you keep getting better and better? And I'm like, I don't even know what to say because I feel like that was the worst show of my life.
You're doing so well. I don't remember anyone tapping you on the shoulder.
You're just shaking your head and smiling.
Exactly. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Thank you. Let me go see what I did wrong. And I didn't figure it out till I got back home, and I literally pulled the paperwork out of the trailer and came in here to my computer and looked at the script on the computer and the paper. And I'm like, they're not the same. How's that possible?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I guess I accidentally had 2 files, somehow used the wrong one.
Yeah. Yeah. As many shows as you do you think you derived or learned anything from that experience that you're like, okay, well, how do I prevent this moving forward? Like, is there anything about your process that you actively work to change? So you're like, okay, this has happened to me once. How do I correctively look at my process to change that next time around?
Well, I know for this particular show, I'm just, I'm going to verify the cue sheet against the actual script firing software file.
Yeah.
But going forward, I'm going to double make sure that I'm not accidentally saving the file as 2 different names or something, or having it in multiple places on the computer, which I started to make that mistake with this show. I'm like, okay, I've got a Skywars file that says, it's Skywars files. It's got all the Skywars stuff in it pertaining to this. And then I've got it on the USB stick, and then I've got it in my other place. And I'm like, that's too many places to have a file. That's how I ended up with this problem the first time. So only file I work out of right now is the Skywars file on the desktop. Nothing else is, and then at the end of the days, when I'm done doing work or working on the file, the scripts or whatever, I resave it to the USB stick. So it's the new updated files on there.
Yeah.
Hey, going off with what you were saying with the pull sheets, I remember talking to you about this before. You said you don't label your product, correct? You just use the pull sheet to fill everything?
Yeah, we have the cue sheet. So the cue sheet's cue sheet has the pull sheet at the end of it. It's just a list of items used in the show, but I call it a pull sheet. But it's the cue sheet that has that info and data. And we only use cue sheets. I've used stickers in the past, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's actually a really good way to do things. But I don't want to print out 3,000 stickers. I don't need them for my wheel when I've got 24 things going to one angle. I can read a piece of paper just as quick. And how do you highlight it off?
Yeah. How do you communicate that? Like with your crew? Is your crew so intimately familiar with your process that they kind of have that same knowledge base or procedural line of thinking when it comes to looking at the wheel, for example, or even a cake position? If you don't necessarily use cues, or are they just going straight to the firing system and then, tracing wires back? How do they locate that stuff on site?
So basically I'll have really detailed notes in the cue sheet. We're also going to have, meetings, if not daily. It definitely will have one at the beginning of the setup. We'll probably have a daily meeting, but I'm not sure. But I'll definitely explain it all out, because there are several that are, yes, with me all the time and know the process. But of course, it's Skywars. So I've got several that aren't with me all the time. Most of them have at least been on the crew with me at one point or another. So they kind of understand what I usually do. Yeah. But it's just a different way. I know the labels are great, but you can easily misstick a label and then you're not looking at the product to make sure the product's right. Mm-hmm. So you go, oh, someone misstickered the label, and then you get it and you load it. You don't look at the product to double check. It should be a double check done there, but how often is it done? My plan is to everything be double checked. So if there's a person wiring one-shot racks, he's going to have a person with him double checking, and they both work together and verify that the product that they plugged into the queue matches the product number on the queue sheet. Everything is product numbered. I spent a lot of time putting my products in Fireworks Sim beforehand and making them all the exact same. It's the first thing you see is product number, RA141030. Yeah. The name of the cake, the shot count, then the name of the cake, or the slice, or the one shot, or whatever, or the size. So all that data is exactly the same through the whole thing. It's all nice and organized. And then I made note things like on cake positions where we're e-matching the backside of a cake to make sure it doesn't run through into a scene. Yeah. That's a really interesting approach, dude. I'm really glad you brought that up, Shaun. I didn't know that you did that. That's really cool.
Yeah. When he told me, I was like, oh my God, I would be lost. I'd be like, you're going to have to teach me to help you, because I have no idea what you want me to do here. Hold on a second.
So it's pretty easy for this particular show, and I've never had to do this, but to make sure it's simple and understandable for anyone that's helping. I highlighted things. So let's say my cake position, I have a cake, fallen leaves cake, and its queue is, falling leaves cake. And down at the bottom, there's a queue that says E-match end of that product number. It's highlighted, just the product number, and the product number on the main queue is highlighted. So when they look at the queue sheet, they're going to go, okay, that's a special thing. We need to make sure that's right. So let's read this. Okay. This one says E-match, or this one just is a regular queue, and this one says E-match the end. So we need to put a queue for each one and E-match them and plug them into two queues. There's places where it's E-match the cake at both ends, because I have cakes that run twice as long as I want them to. Yeah. And so that's a completely different animal. You got to make sure they understand that as well. These are going to get two E-matches. They're going to get series wired at the cake, and one queue will run to the thing. So I'll go over that. That will be part of my initial meeting with everybody. Here's I'm going to go through the whole script, pick out everything where something might trip somebody up. We're going to go over it, explain it. If anybody's got any questions, they'll ask, and I'll explain it further. But I've gone through and taken a good 10 or 20 hours making notes like that on the script, making notes for which rack goes to which position. Every single rack that I borrowed or have for myself, I've got the size, I've got the template. It's assigned to a position, and the angles are already preset on a form that I made for every single Craig Co rack in the show.
Yeah. So with all the people you have helping you, you said, there's the people that know your, setup logic pretty much. And then you have people that don't. So you're going to stick a person that doesn't with someone who does. So that way there's always someone there to answer a question for them. Or do you have a plan for that already?
Yeah, it may be that way. It may not. It just depends. So, all crews are different, and you got several different people working on crews that have different strengths and excel in other areas. So
Jamie and Medusa.
Some of that.
He's intimately
Hey,
familiar.
you know what? He's talking about the multi-crew, okay? Let him speak.
The multi-crew. I love it. Oh, man. The multi-cues, the multi-crews, the multi-blues. What do you got going on? What else?
The 99 field units. The module ain't one.
99 field units and a module ain't one.
Oh, God.
Telling you.
Oh, will you please make it?
That's going to happen.
That's a t-shirt.
Oh,
I'm going to make some t-shirts after this episode.
Will you please make his what is it called? What is it? The thumbnail of Hauter? Make him look like who's the guy that sings that song? 99 Problems.
It was at Jay-Z.
Make him look like have a Jay-Z thing. Holding a field unit.
It's a meme. Yeah, right. It's a meme.
We got 99
Pyro community
views, but
needs
a
more memes.
module ain't one.
I'm here to please. So
Standing on top of a 900-foot tower.
900 feet. We had to call the FAA for my 30 millimeters.
No, you're using 100 millimeter, right?
Oh, yeah. 100 milli mines up 900 feet. Oh, maybe that's what Tommy's doing. Maybe Tom from Florida's got 900 foot, 100 millimeters. Yeah.
I feel like there was a question that started this, right? I like where it went. Don't get me wrong, but I want to make sure that we get to the question.
He answered the question.
Oh, he did. Okay.
It was like how he
Yeah.
was.
Well, just like helping out.
Yeah,
helping
you can go out the
and,
crew.
Like, yeah.
You can kind of
have
spread the crew.
experienced guy with an unexperienced guy.
Yeah, and you can also, spread the crew to certain areas that they excel in.
Yeah, here's the dummy end.
Producer duty.
Okay, you see, there it goes again. Right back to it.
I'm just find me. I'm the one holding the clipboard.
I'm just. It's just the thing they say in the plumbing field. Here, you like the tape measure. You hold the dummy end.
Is this all I'm good for? Yeah.
I've held the dummy end quite a few times in the field.
What are we talking about?
Exactly.
Oh, God. We're talking about voicemails.
Hello.
Oh, boy.
I'm not ready for this.
Okay, we have three of them, but I believe that one of these, I don't know if the voicemail system's screwing up and it's just cutting people off, or I don't know. We'll see. We either have three or we have two. We'll see.
It's better than none.
Yeah, that's right. It's better than none. The first one is from Clee Torres. Okay. Okay. Man, I swear to God, I'm starting to feel like Mo in The Simpsons. Hey, I'm looking for Amanda Hug and Kiss. Excuse me, Amanda Hug and Kiss, guys.
Hello again. We all know a comet is a comet and a meteor is a meteor. But is a slat a slat? I hear you talk a lot about DB25 cables and sometimes RJ45 cables when dealing with 18Ms, but never about Centronic 50 cables. What are the pros and cons to 18S slats and 36S slats?
All right, I'll pause there. Well, AJ, you want to take that?
Oh, I've never used 36, but the way that I guess
I can.
my opinion on it was why I went with
Chad
18.
uses.
I guess the reason I went with 18 instead of 36, especially because, we use Cricorex, they're 36 shots. So it would make sense just to do one whole slat. But for me, it's more of ease of setup. And God forbid I lose a cable. At least I have the other cable that's going to fire,
It's like, you're right. It's like kidneys. One fails. It's okay. You still got the other
one to
one.
go.
Still got another one.
Right.
That was, I guess, the only benefit in the way why I went 18 instead of 36.
Yeah. I think
I was 36 and went 18.
Yeah. And I think, Jamie, I guess you could probably speak to Chad's reasoning for using the Centronics cables is probably because it's a central point to go back to. But I would think that a lot of that has to do with field application in terms of how many cues you have in one spot, right? If you have a certain number of cues in one spot, depending on how you break it up, 36 cues might be optimal, right? And if it just depends on, do you want more gear at that position? You want less gear at that position?
Yeah, I mean, the way Chad uses them, it's optimal for him because he's using 36 shot racks and he has his slats permanently mounted to his racks. So he has one slat, bank A, bank B. He hooks up one cable, it's done. For me, I started off with his Centronic cables, but they're just heavy, especially when you get in longer lengths, and they're just such a thick wire that when they're cold, they're not very friendly. And I opted to switch to the DB25, even though I'm using 2 cables per rack, which is a little bit more time consuming. Cost effectiveness was just more friendly in my application, but for Chad's application, it's ideal. He does everything in 36. He has 1 cable. He's got room for days for storage and heated floors, and
he's got the muscle to carry him.
And he's got all the muscle in the world.
Yeah. And Centronics cables too. I mean, just from they
are nice cables.
They're nice cables. Yeah. And I serial cables generally are kind of, they're an older technology and they're on their way out. But I mean, as far as Centronics versus DB25, Centronics is a less prominent cable in the marketplace, or less prominent connection mechanism than DB25 is. But still, all of them, you fast forward 20 years from now, I don't think any of these firing systems will probably use them. I think they'll probably all change to something else, because it's just, it's an aging technology. And I think all that stuff's going to eventually transition to just digital throughput signals.
It'll be so much nicer. You don't have to worry about bent pens.
Yeah.
And it'll be click. Done.
Yeah. Shaun, how do you handle Mongoose's DB25s, correct?
Yes.
How do you guys handle Craigco racks with 36 shots? You got, what is it, 42 Qs?
48. We got 2 slats, 2 24 slats. So I handle that by buying 25 shot Craigco racks.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
And I had him make my Medusa's 12s instead of 2018s.
Nice.
His 24 is a little big. And I was like, well, I'll just use Banks of 12. Because a lot of times.
There you go, kids. Yeah. That's called optimizing your application.
So I do the similar thing. I might use a 12-shot wood rack for my canister shells and a 12-shot Medusa. And so there I've got 24 shots. So I kind of get my racks in the 12 or 24 configurations. So like an 18-shot rack doesn't do me too much good anymore.
Yeah. The running joke, in my failing old age, at 40, everything stops to work. So, you want lighter racks.
Just wait till you're 42.
Shot racks or
You're still a baby here, Bo.
But yeah, so I like to do that. I like to try to gear mine. Like I said, I use 25 shot Craigcos, which leaves us at 1 empty slot if you're filling them. But whoever fills every single one. And we're kind of we're in the middle of coming up with the
Shaun,
design.
You fit right in on my crew. There's an empty queue.
He actually has enough spots to fill all the queues on the slat. You always have 1 extra queue on the slat.
Yeah,
just to get
your 35 shot racks.
So there's nothing wrong with the 35s. I mean, especially if you're using 22 millis and 4-way inserts from Bose.
Oh, dude, the 35 shot racks, I bought those from Brian way back when he first started making racks. It was the only configuration he had. But even to this day, it's still the one that I would choose to buy. And not just because all of my racks are the 35s. It's at the lake application where I'm hard coded into such a small footprint. Shy of what I did last year with tilting the racks. Before that, I was trying to get all of the extreme angles that I could. And I had that 1 extra row on the backside to do that. So it allowed me 1 more shot to try to do something clever. So I think that's really why I went for it. But it does screw. It does screw with the nomenclature and the settings and stuff like that. Typically, when it finds it, because it still screws with me when I get a 36 shot rack. It screws with me less when I use AJ's or Jamie's to set up a rack, because that math all makes more sense. But when my 35 shots go out to them, it's okay, these guys are looking at it well, this is all kinds of fucked up, because this doesn't make any
True story. True story.
True story. They do have its place, though, and they are a benefit when you can borrow some 35s, though, especially when you're I have a lot of extreme angles right here, and these work out.
Yeah, I borrowed a whole slew of all different sizes, so I've got I've got 35 shot racks that got 15 things in them.
Nice.
It is what it is. I allocated them as best I could to, use as few as possible. And that's still where we're at. So many people have 35s. I mean, it's a common size. So it's no big deal. What's a few empty rows? It's not going to hurt nothing.
Yeah, I had a 35 shot with only 3 things in it. So,
I mean, might as well just use a stake and stake them down. Not even worry about the rest.
They were extreme angles.
Come on, you can put a stake in at 80.
No, I don't know. I can't swing a hammer.
Not efficiently. Actually, if it was like last year, good luck putting a stake in the ground. It was not fun last year. It was like concrete.
I hope to God. I mean, dude, that dust killed me. I had bronchial infection for a month.
Oh yeah, dude! It's like everybody left that thing like that killed off species in the movie Dune.
I mean, PGI, I'm still recovering from. I don't need to walk.
I think everybody walked away from Skywars last year with
dying
bronchial infection.
They're just going to show up in a respirator. It's going to be like Borderlands.
Yeah. All right, here. Let me get the latter half of this voicemail. Hold on.
Secondly, how many slats can you daisy chain together with 33-foot cables using a module with LiPo battery? As always, thank you.
The answer to that question is 10 billion. No, it's not. 33-foot cable. It would depend on, did he say 33 foot or did he specify a gauge?
He didn't say gauge. He just said 33
I heard
foot.
33 foot, but I didn't hear the end of it.
Okay. Assuming that they're Cobras and they're the heavier gauge cables.
22.
All right. My recommendation is to go out and find a resistance calculator. And
Cobra has a cheat sheet on our website.
Yeah, I would, if we can find, I don't want to give you the wrong answer on that because that changes drastically depending on what kind of cable and what gauge conductor is in that cable. Because you would use, the answer is a lot less, with a higher
Pyro and series matter too.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Cool. Non-answer.
I just
more variables are needed to answer this question.
Yeah.
Actually, Cobra literally just sent out something that said like how many you could use with how much footage. I just saw. Didn't they send out an email or something recently that had that on there?
I don't remember seeing that. I think Jamie's right though. I think the help portal has something that is tailored to their cable gauges. Because nobody knows
MJG igniters can I fire?
Yeah. And then you're right. That's the other piece of this too, is assuming what you're firing on the other end. Because if, the type of match or firewire that you're using is going to be that'll be
all
different.
Right. So Cobra's got a great little thing out of their help portal. How many MJG igniters can I fire? You click your module. You click whether you're shooting parallel or series.
Perfect.
And then you click choose your wiring gauge, and you can choose imperial or metric, and it will tell you. So like shooting a 36M parallel with 22 gauge at 50 feet, number of MJG igniters would be 8, 100 would be 4, 250 would be 2.
That's right. And then estimate less than 1. Whatever number you get, assume that you can do at least 1 or 2 more.
You switch it to series, you can get 2 at 500 feet.
When did they come out with that table?
I don't think Jamie's saying that that's a great idea, and I completely agree with him. I think
it's on there.
Website.
Wait, it is?
It's on there.
If you go to the help
clarified.
Portal,
they have a tool that you can do that?
Yeah.
You're kidding.
It's not really a tool.
It's MJG Max Firing Calculator.
Yeah.
It's on the MJG site.
No, it's on Cobra's support portal.
Well, they have another one too that it's called Continuity Clarified. So when you go to it, you can choose which module. So you can do 6M, 18, 36, 72. So if you just chose 72, went to parallel, choose wire gauge 24, it'll tell you extended length, 50 foot, 100, 250, 500, and 750. So at 250 feet, you can fire 1 match. At 100, you can fire 3. At 50 foot, you can fire 6.
Jamie, look at you. Great job, guys. We'll keep your
Nice.
keep your
I
ear to
just,
the fucking ground.
clicked the link. It won't let me get in.
You're banned.
Sounds like you've been IP banned.
It's like the Facebook group. I just can't see it. I don't know.
I cannot imagine why. All right. Let's see. All right. Next voicemail is from Canada.
Message from Canada.
All right. Next voicemail is from Canada. If it plays.
Fellas, hope you're doing well. Can't wait to see you guys in a couple weeks. My question for Shaun is, what are the biggest learning curves or steps that you have come across and that you've had to overcome and adapt for during this journey to Sky Wars? What would be the key suggestions or comments that you would tell somebody if they were a competitor behind you? Looking forward to seeing your show. Ciao.
Chow.
He said chow. Did they say that in
He didn't
Canada?
say chow. He didn't say chow, eh?
Chow.
Come on, Dana. What the heck?
It's Chewy.
No, Dana's working with me on the crew. I'm excited to see him. It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
So
we're looking forward to meeting him.
challenges I had to overcome. I don't feel I had any. I mean, besides obviously what we talked about with the scripting software and my fire file and all that stuff, which is, just normal things that we tend to deal with sometimes in the industry. So, but advice for anyone going forward or coming in after me, man, be prepared. It's a lot bigger than you think. If no one's done something this size, I've never done something this size. Okay. I do a lot of shows, but I've never done one this big myself. So I've worked on 3,000 Q shows. I've crewed plenty, but I've never done the whole thing myself. And I've done plenty of smaller shows. That's where the experience comes from, to be able to do this and make it feel so seamless. Because at this point, I'm super confident. I've got a plan. I know what we're doing. We've got it. I've got everything organized. As soon as I got the show scripted, I just got right into, getting everything as prepared as possible. Because I don't know if I mentioned this or not. I'm leaving for LA on Friday. And I will be gone for 8 or 9 days doing a big display out there in the LA Coliseum.
Nice.
So
dude.
I got invited and I'm like, boy, I don't really want to pass this up. So that's a bummer being a week before Sky Wars. But my plan was come back from PGI, get Sky Wars scripted, prep it as much as I can and have a plan going forward. And we've executed that. I'm pretty much finally at the point where I'm almost done doing things to prep for Sky Wars. And we're not doing anything. We're not bringing any racks preloaded. We're bringing cases of fireworks up there and we're going to set it out and work it. We've got a big crew. We've got a plan. I've got an extremely detailed, cue sheet. All of the steps are there. I've got the borrowed equipment nailed down. I've got all that stuff. It's just a lot more than someone could expect if they've never done something this size. Even myself that has never done something this size, there's a lot more to it than you would expect.
Yeah, once you start breaking it all down, you're like, wow, didn't think about that.
Yeah.
How far are you from Sky Wars?
It's about 2.5, 3 hours to the shoot site from my place.
So that's a benefit. It's a lot.
It is a big benefit.
Cheaper.
I mean, yeah.
To get there.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
forget something. You got a couple days to go get it.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I forgot all my racks. I have to run back home. Literally, it could happen. I mean, I'm going to try not to have that happen, but it could. We could be sending someone back to the warehouse for some stuff. But, it's nice to be close, but it really doesn't save you that much. I mean, yeah, some gas money or whatever, but we still got to live in St. Louis for a week. So it's no different than anyone coming from further away. They just maybe a little less gas money.
Yeah.
A little.
Okay. A lot if you're hauling a heavy trailer. But.
Exactly.
Just have it all shipped to Sky Wars. Save you a lot of gas money.
Right. Oh, that costs more than driving it myself.
Oh my.
What was the back end part?
I don't know what he was talking about the back end part. Maybe he thought something cut out, but it really didn't. Because
maybe he said a bad word and it cut off right when he said it.
I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't really sound like a bad word in a Canadian accent, so it's okay.
Yeah.
He sounded
just
pretty
listened to
good
his
for
first
being
one.
in Mexico all trash. So
I know. He's been sending me pictures of the little tiki bar or whatever it is. I'm like, that looks like fun. I'm about to fly to LA and be in 110 degree heat.
well, he's probably dying right now. He's from Canada to Mexico. It's probably like a 400-degree difference for him.
Yeah.
Right? Ouch.
He's going to regret bringing his Eskimo outfit.
Speedos.
Yeah. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, head over to bozy8823.com/rhythm pyro and hit the start recording button about halfway down the page and have fun. I'm not going to tell you what not to name yourself because I don't care.
You might get it on the next podcast.
That's right. Be careful what you say and what you wish for because we tend to respond in kind. Patreon, go join the Patreon, patreon.com/rhythm pyro. As a supporting member, you get elite status on the Discord server. Go join that too. There's links on our Facebook and YouTube page, and there'll probably be links in the description of this episode. Shaun Hauter, I'm so very much looking forward to seeing your show here in a couple of weeks.
I am too, but thank you. I'm super excited to see it myself now that, I sat down and scripted it and I'm like, is it going to be as epic as I want it to be? And man, we got a winner on tap. I'll just say that.
Good man.
Nice. You've been thinking about this for years, so it was just ready to put on paper, right?
Right. Well, I had been thinking about it for years, and then old David England stole one of my songs I had in my back pocket and used it at Sky Wars last year for me.
Unheard of.
No, I mean, it's not like he stole it. I mean, it's just music. He used it. But yeah, I was wanting to use that Tommy Prophet Sound of War song for so long. I was like, that's my Pro-Am song. If it never gets used, I'm using it. And he used it, and I'm like, it's ruined. 1 year late. I'll tell you what, I don't mind not using that song because the songs that I've got this year and the flow of music, I think it's pretty nice. I think everyone will like it. It's definitely got a mixture of stuff, so it's not It's not just all epic or all slow. It's got 4 different songs, and they're really nice. I think they flow well together.
Good, man.
Hold on. I want to make this clear real quick, just so you know, because I know you and John were talking for a little bit over a song.
Yeah.
And so, he talks too. So if that song got leaked by him, it wasn't me, okay? I'm throwing that out right now.
That's funny.
Hey, you know what covering your looks like, ladies and gentlemen.
I would say that song, I'm pretty sure you were talking about the same one, could easily be used by anybody. Anybody that hears it's going to go, that's a great song for fireworks. So,
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm surprised we didn't see it at PGI or any other of these events throughout the season because it's been out, since the spring, or it might even be a year old. I can't remember, but yeah.
You got to kind of like that music though a little bit too for that. You know what I mean?
Right. True. You're not going to just stumble on it if you're not looking.
Yeah, you can't just look for the traditional kind of stuff.
That story with me and John's kind of funny. That he actually showed me this song and said, "Don't steal this song. I'm going to use it for Sky Wars." And I listened to it, and at the time I was like, "No, it's not funny yet. Wait, Bo, trust me, it gets funnier. You gotta wait till the punchline.
You not to.
You gotta wait for the punchline. Trust me, Bo, you're really gonna laugh." So he showed me the song. He showed me the song. At the time, I was like, "Dude, that's super cool." I said, okay, but I forgot about it. I put it out of my brain. It's gone. I'm looking for songs on YouTube, and I come across this song months later, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the song. I got to use this. And so I got it. I formulated my file, and I'm like, John, check this out. And he's like, dude, you stole my song. I'm like, what?
Oh my God.
I didn't steal your song. What are you talking about? He screenshots when he sent it to me. And he's like, yeah, I did show you that song. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, he's never going to believe me. He's just going to think I stole it. No matter what I say. But I swear to God, that is what happened.
God. New shirts. That's my song, bro.
That's my song, bro. That's my song, bro. Dude, that's my song.
That's my song. You know what happened is the internet knows that you and John are friends because you're connected on Facebook and 20,000 other mediums. So John probably went on YouTube to listen to his song, and then the algorithm's like, well, you know, it's like he showed this to this guy once. We can get another view out of it. We'll let him listen to it too. Right.
Blaming AI. It's done.
God. All right, man. Stop talking about it.
Stop talking about it.
Stop talking about it.
Do the damn thing.
Screw the damn thing.
Screw the damn thing. Do the damn thing.